stop sharing here. Let's turn some cameras on. I'll continue to manage the waiting room and stuff here. Guys, good morning. Happy Friday. Hopefully you guys crushed it this week out here. As usual, we will start with the wins for the week. Who has some good shit going on out there? And let's share that with anybody. So who wants to start us off? 3 wins for the week. Oh, Tracy put some
I'll
stuff
start.
in there. Yeah, talk to. So Tracy, first of all, let's welcome our newest family member here, Tracy Poteet.
How you doing, Larry MF?
What kind of good stuff you got going on over there, girl?
Well, there was this little thing that I did this week that I'm not sure if you know about or not, but I opened the Rockport EXP office. I made the move after 10 years at Remax, and yay, I'm finally home.
Yeah, you guys should have seen it. The only time I've seen Pat Hayes do actual manual labor, we were moving desk out of the Remax office. The Remax owner showed up as we're putting all of this shit on the trailer, right? We're shooting videos and stuff, like rolling her out. It's like, man, I could not be happier. And just so you guys know, like, this is a big deal. Rockport is a more traditional type market. And so change is not like always this prevalent, but we were calculating, Tracy's first off is the #1 producer in all of Rockport. If she was a brokerage by herself, she would be the #2 brokerage out of the entire MLS. So man, Tracy, so thrilled to have you on here and just being a part of our family.
I'm so excited too. Thank you, Larry. I can't wait to meet everybody. And let's see, secondly, well, this morning I just landed my first property management gig with a 6-unit complex and an owner that has another 100 rental units. So there's a business I wasn't looking to get into, but hey, I'll take it.
Absolutely.
And what else? Let's see. Well, I just finished my vacation in Turks and Caicos. So those are some pretty big things that happened this week.
Absolutely. Well, welcome aboard.
And I got to see you in your swim trunk, Larry.
Yes, that is true as well. And like, there's a big storm coming in. Like, we had to cut our trip early just so I could make it home on time because like we were anticipating some flooding, and absolutely glad that I got out of there on time. But it was absolutely great, and we will do a lot more here in the near future. But thank you so much for jumping on this morning, Tracy. Beautiful. Who has the second win for the week, guys?
Well, I've got something there for you, Larry. This is really probably valuable for some of you guys. And that is, I signed a non-disclosure agreement last week. I have another meeting today to wrap it up. For those of you who are kicking butt and taking names, I'm sorry, real estate, you take names and then you kick butt. I have access to $64 billion of tax credits that those of you that are making at least paying $100,000 in federal taxes, $60K will get you a $100,000 tax credit, dollar for dollar credit. So for those of you who have done extensions and have not filed 2023, it can apply to last year as well as this year. So for those of you who are doing really well, those of us who have that big federal tax bill, then, you know, again, $60,000 gets you a $100,000 tax credit. So for those of you who are producing well, that rocks. Plus, I also got a referral for $2.6 million. So
look at that. just a nice, easy little week. And guys, if you guys aren't doing this, right? Like, this is a wealth building call, right? So this is not just about making more, it's about keeping more. And literally for the past 3 or 4 years now, I've been buying other people's losses to be able to absorb all of the tax liability on my side for a fraction of the price. So let me know if you guys are, even if you owe, like, it doesn't have to be like that set amount. Let's say you owe 20,000, 30,000, you can still buy those losses at a fraction of the price. So reach out to Scott, reach out to myself. I'm happy to connect you with Scott. and stuff there, because a big part is you have to know where to get those credits. So that's where Scott and, particular accountants become so valuable there. So beautiful, man. That's a huge win. And yeah, guys, you definitely need to think about that because it's a game changer. It's fully legal. There's a tax code for it. That was the first thing that I asked. Like, am I going to jail for this? Right? Like, I'm way too pretty for prison. Like, I'd rather just pay my tax liability at the end of the day. But so I've vetted this process a lot, and it's life-changing if you owe any amount of taxes. So beautiful, Scott. Thank you, sir. And guys, who has the third win for us before we jump into things? I'll wait as long as you will.
All right, Larry, I'll go. I got an ADR HPA listing this morning and 2 last week. So I'm just getting going with those.
And how long have you been with us, Art?
It was a month last week.
A month. So we're almost averaging a listing a week right now.
Yes, sir. Loving it.
Damn.
Mhm.
Yeah. And this is funny, right? Like a lot of people, when we talk to them, they think we're full of shit. But like, I mean, Art is just one of many testimonials and stuff, right? Because of our relationships and where a lot of us do business on this asset management side of things. So Art, super thrilled to have you, bro. Use that, right? Like take advantage of these calls. Let's learn how to leverage that, help other people grow their business. And as we help other people grow, then we grow as well. So thank you guys so much for jumping on that and stuff like that. Just a couple of housekeeping items. I've sent most of you guys the information for Tony Robbins in November, Newark, New Jersey. Tickets are generally $2,000. We get them for $800 because we have such a large group going. You're going to have Jeff and Kelly Russell there, Eric Bangle there. We're trying to get Darren Cottrell there. I know a lot of you guys have committed, but guys, this is where literally we grow. Personal life, financial life, business life, etc. And so if any of you guys have some interest, make sure you shoot me an email. I'll get you in touch with our rep. Chris, if you or any of your leaders want to join us or anything, like that's going back over to your home court, let me know. Like we get group seating, it's literally $800 versus $2,000. So it's a huge benefit and stuff there. So just wanted to remind you of that. But guys, let's jump into today. So I am super pumped, to bring Chris on. Chris sits in a number of different, very high-level mastermind groups with me, right? He was an attorney in New York City for about 15 years prior to getting into real estate, right? Then in about 2014, he got into real estate, ended up moving from his home court all the way over to sunny California, right? And you'll notice by his accent, he does not belong in California, right? He talks too fast, right? Like he's really abrasive and stuff here. And then he became a full-time real estate agent in about 2016 or so. Is that right, Chris?
Yep.
And then he became the head of operations at the #1 Coldwell banker down there in San Diego, right? Didn't join EXP until about 2019. And this is the crazy part, right? Because we all make up these stories, right? Like, oh, I'm too late, right? Like this is why people are jumping ship. Well, I didn't get in early enough. I don't have enough experience. I don't have this. I don't have that. Guys, that's bullshit. That is a story that you are telling yourself. We saw that with Sean Sturrock on last week's call. Has not sold a home today. Has still not sold a home, but he's adding massive value to other people. You're seeing that within our group with Eric Bangle being able to jump on. He sells a few homes a deal, but he adds massive value to everybody in his group and his organization and stuff like that. So Chris, what's going on, brother? Thank you for being here this morning.
My pleasure, bro. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pumped just because we do a lot of great masterminds and stuff ourselves. But I know I gave everybody, right? Like, man, you're New York style attorney in the background and stuff like that. Like, man, what kind of midlife crisis were you going through in 2014 to 16 that you needed to move to the opposite side of the world and jump into real estate? What the hell were you thinking?
Yeah, I'm definitely a stranger in a strange land out here. There's no question about it. But You know, the whole reason I became a lawyer was to be a prosecutor, and I loved that job. I still miss that job. And, but I got tired of being poor. You know what I mean? I was working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I was making 56 grand a year. And finally just got sort of, tired of the politics and, tired of my annual salary being my friends from college. It was their insurance payments on their cars. So went into private practice where, the annual salary became a quarterly bonus. But I was miserable. I had no fire for it at all. And by accident, really, I stumbled into, I was starting to invest my money in real estate and just reading books, going to seminars, things like that, and ended up at a fortune builders seminar on Long Island and completely fell in love with it. And I was the only idiot in the room who didn't know that it was an upsell for a coaching program.
Yeah,
I'd never been to
like,
anything.
oh, this information is so great. Thank you guys.
I was like $200. This is fantastic. And it was $200 for the whole weekend. And in 3 days, I learned more there than I did in 4 years of college. So I absolutely fell in love with it, became a coaching student, and very soon thereafter gave notice, to my firm, which was a little problematic since my name's on the building. So it sort of sent the place into a tailspin, but I gave them a year and said, we represented institutional clients. So I transitioned all of those clients, to other partners and other people in the firm. And then I just jumped in. And I ended up in California, which I never thought in a million years would happen. But all the guys from Fortune Builders, I was doing a lot of stuff with them at that point, and they were based here in San Diego. And they were smart. They kept flying me out here to do stuff in the winter. So I'd get off the plane and I was like, what the F is going on? Like, it's 72, there's palm trees, it's absolutely gorgeous. And then every time I'd have to go home, it was 5 degrees and sleeting rain. And I was like, all right, that's it. You got me. So that's how I ended up out here. It was really
that's how you just
weather.
visiting some people you were doing business with. All right. And then so you're getting into real estate, you're in fortune builders and stuff like that, which kind of got you in. What made you want to get your license and kind of do that? Did you just have to backfill like some stability or some income and stuff there? Or how'd you get into actually getting your license?
Yeah, not even that. I mean, it was funny when I started as a real estate investor in New York. Everybody had recommended that I also get my license to give some additional options that are available to you as an investor when you're licensed. So when I looked into it in New York, it was super easy. I filled out a one-page form. I checked the box. I paid $150 and poof, I was a broker. Now, I didn't know jack shit because I'd never done real estate law at all. I knew how to put bad guys in jail. So, but I realized relatively quickly that was a much more scalable business and a lot less risky in terms of capital outlay. So, started focusing on that and just picking up clients by accident, really. Flips that I was doing that buyers would show up and that wasn't the right place for them. So I'd spin them off and find them something else. And Fortune Builders owned a brokerage here in San Diego, a small localized brokerage that was primarily just for their flips. So they were just saving hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in commissions by having their own brokerage. Yeah. And my plan originally was come out here. They couldn't have cared less about the brokerage. It was strictly utilitarian. And my plan in moving out to California was to build that brokerage up into another major business for them.
Okay.
So that was the original plan. And very long story short, I ended up ultimately collapsing their brokerage into EXP. So they were like my first major recruit was, meeting with the owners of Fortune Builders and just showing them how they could actually use this as a profit center as opposed to just being a way of saving money on their development business.
Yeah, and so you joined EXP around like 2019 or so, is that right?
October 2019.
So you've been here for, let's call it, 4 years, a good 4 years at this point in time. Yep. How many people have you personally brought into the organization?
personally brought in, the original number, it's like pushing 40, but we've had quite a few people off board who just left the business completely.
Yeah.
So I think I'm at 28 frontliners and as of today, 16 FLQAs.
16 FLQAs. And what's that put like, and this is the beautiful part, right? Is that this business will grow whether you want it to or not.
Correct.
Once you get that momentum, right? And
Yep.
when we all share in ownership and revenue share, not just of the people that we bring in, but the people that they bring in and they bring in and they bring in, right? It kind of has this mind of its own, as long as we're connecting and surrounding ourselves with the right people. So your 28 people, what has that turned your entire organization into?
670.
Oh, give him a round of applause, right? Like that is life changing, guys. And not that long ago that he was, just coming onto this company to begin with. And share with everybody, right? Like I know it's life changing, but like what has been your biggest revenue share check, if you don't mind sharing, on like a monthly basis?
The biggest one thus far has been right around 28,000.
28K.
Yeah, and there's no question, guys, if you don't have to, be like, oh my God, I'm just going to focus all in on this business in the beginning. You know what I mean? Those of you guys who are doing a lot of transactions and you have, a great business going, number one thing I'd recommend is get out of that mindset. I hear this excuse from people all the time. Oh, I'm too busy. I'm just focused on sales. I can't focus on two things. And that's nonsense. You know what I mean? Nothing makes you better at recruiting than being a BFD in your real estate sales business. You know what I mean? When you know what you're talking about as you're doing transactions, when you're doing showings, when you're doing open houses, you're coming into contact with agents all the time. And you just have to keep it in the front of your mind to remember and say, hey, I need to open the door with this person, because you'd be shocked at how many people are afraid to do that, never bring it up, and those are missed opportunities. So every showing you do, every open house you do, I literally, I'm stopping the car in the middle of the road all the time because I'm driving by and I was like, I don't recognize the name on that for sale sign. So I stop and I lean out the window and I take a picture of it. And while I'm still driving to my destination, I'm sending that to my VA, having her uploaded into the CRM. And by the time I get back to my desk, I'm calling that agent.
Yeah. And so a lot of us, right, we will get in, we'll have these great intentions. We'll go to EXPCon or Tony Robbins, and we're like, okay, it's going to be different when I come back this time, right? And then we start overthinking this, right? We start having these limiting beliefs again. Oh, I don't close enough deals. I don't produce enough homes. I like whatever that thing is that we're telling ourselves. Like, what do you say to people, Chris? Like, literally, you're new to your market. Yeah. Do you sell, like, how many homes a year do you sell? Or what's your biggest year? Let's start there. What's your biggest year of production that you've ever had?
I've had some monster years because we live in La Jolla, California. You've got some ridiculous home prices. You know what I mean? So I've sold homes for 4 million, 5 million, 6 million bucks. And now I sell none. The last home I sold was a little over 2 years ago. And I did that reluctantly because, my client, it was a past client who was like 105 pounds of Vietnamese fury, and she would not let me refer it out. So she insisted that it be me. And I sold the house in 6 hours. So, but now I don't sell at all. And it never comes up one of the things that he just touched on, something that is so critical for so many of you. Get out of your head. I don't have the experience. I don't have this. I don't have that. It's nonsense. You're not selling you. That's what you have to, that's one of the first major pivots that you have to, in a mindset shift that everybody has to have, particularly if you're new to real estate or new to EXP. Your personal production, your history, if you do this right, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter, because nobody's going to join or not join EXP because of your accomplishments or lack thereof. That's big. You know what I mean?
And that's the hard part, right? Because where we have this ego, and that ego is hard to combat, right? Because that gets into like, oh, me and my and this and that. And this is where, guys, what we built is so much bigger than any of us, right? What EXP is built is so much bigger than any of us. And as we come together, we have more tools, resources, opportunities for people to take advantage than anything that any of us could do by ourselves. And that's the collaboration, the beautiful, right? Chris coming on, Sean coming on, me going on to their calls, right? Like that does not happen at other brokerages or like any brokerage that I've seen over the past 20 years at this point in time. So like that is the big part, is this cohesiveness, this willing to share and stuff at this point. So Chris, like give us a breakout. Would you mind, like, you know, like how many calls a day do you make? So all you do is focus on attraction. What does your day look like?
I make lots of calls. So I was a mic when I got into real estate. This is a business where every one of us is completely unprepared to do what we're supposed to do when you get that license. Getting a license is friggin' meaningless. So, I got into this with no marketing experience or background. In the DA's office, business showed up in a cage. And then in my law firm, we had such a specialized niche that everybody knew who we were. We didn't market or advertise ever. So now all of a sudden, I'm in a business where, okay, how the hell do you get clients? Which is the number one question every one of you had, especially those of you who are new, where am I going to get leads? So the woman I was dating at the time, who was just an absolute savage in business, she's like, you have to join Mike Ferry's coaching. That's what she had done.
Yeah.
And, she had no background in this. She becomes a real estate agent, joined Mike Ferry's coaching, and did 97 transactions in her first year, just doing exactly what he said. So I went and joined Mike Ferry. So I got used to making prospecting calls, calling FSBOs, expires, just listed, just sold, calling my sphere, being on the phone all day. And I'm an Italian lawyer from New York. Guess what? I love to talk. So, and I love to ask questions. So that was sort of a natural, a natural method for me. So when I got into this, you know what I mean? I'm not nearly as pretty or charismatic as Gogo. You know what I mean? I don't have Mike Sherrod's acumen when it comes to social media or YouTube. I'm not creative. I'm a little, like Larry said, I'm a bit abrasive. So social media ain't my thing. So, but I was good on the phones, and I'm not shy. So, and I learned that lesson early of, it's not about me. It's not about what I've done or my experience or etc. That's a mindset. I'm selling EXP. So the biggest thing is learn the proper methodology to do this. Then your experience never comes up. Nobody ever asks me how many homes I've sold. They just assume I'm a monster. And that's all mindset, guys. And quite honestly, dig back into your own histories, whatever you were doing before real estate. That's where it comes from for me. When I joined the DA's office, they throw you in the deep end very quickly to see if you're going to drown. So on my first afternoon there, the boss comes in with a file this thick. He drops it on my desk and he goes, somebody told me you're supposed to be the next big thing. I guess we'll find out. And as he's walking, doesn't even say hello. And as he's walking out, he goes, trial starts Thursday. Well, I definitely threw up in my mouth a little bit because that was 3 days from then. And that morning, threw my brains up multiple times. I'm picking a jury in 20 minutes. Never done it before. But I took a deep breath when I got to the door. As soon as I put my hand on the door, closed my eyes, took a deep breath and said, this is my, excuse my language, but this is my fucking house. That's become my daily affirmation every day in any business that I've ever gone in. You guys can all do that exact same thing here. Before you're picking up the phone, get yourself in alpha dog mode and know that you've made the right decision. You guys joined the smartest brokerage for agents to be at ever created. that person on the other end of the phone, no matter how big a deal they are, no matter how many homes they've sold, if they're still at a brokerage where there's no cap on their commissions and they're paying a 7% franchise fee, they're afraid. So remember that when you're going into the call, that of the two of you, you've made the smarter decision. Now it's simply a question of not trying to ram EXP down anybody's throat.
Yeah.
And Larry, I'm sure we're going to get into sort of, the methodology of how
Yeah.
to do this. But the biggest thing, and you should all write this down, don't be attached to the outcome when you're prospecting. And what I mean by that is you are not calling your mission, your objective when you're making a prospecting call is doing one thing and one thing only, setting an appointment. You're not resist that urge to start being like, oh my God, you should take a look at EXP because we have stock and we have rev share and we have health insurance and oh my, blah, blah, blah. People will all of a sudden, guess how many other people have done that to them already? We've been around a long time. Every big hitter's gotten 15 calls like that. And all of a sudden now they build up a wall where it's like the moment EXP is mentioned, it's plinking off that wall. It's never actually penetrating. They're not listening. So you do a little, a disruptor when you're talking to them and saying, look, when people ask me, is this a recruiting call? And I just say to them all, not yet. That stops them and causes them to pause for a second. And I tell them flat out, I don't know enough about you yet to know if I want to try to recruit you.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So immediately then that's different than anything that that other people have told them. So now it's like they get that little computer glitch and they're like, all right, wait a second, what's he talking about? And I say to them, look, the reason why I'm calling is to set up an appointment with you. I know for myself, and I consider, my friends all refer to me as white collar, white trash. I'm reasonably intelligent. And, I'm a guy who does his homework, who does his research, and I'm skeptical. So I know for myself, this was the smartest business decision I've ever made. But I'm not going to be so presumptuous as to assume that EXP is going to be right for you. So what I want to do on that call is get to know you, your business, and most importantly, your goals. I want to know where you want to go. And then I'll help you do a side-by-side comparison to see if EXP is going to be the right move for you as an individual. And I tell them all, it is not going to be a hard sell on EXP. Odds are I'm not going to talk to you about EXP at all on our discovery call. So that's all I'm trying to do is get them to an appointment. Don't try and do it when you just call them and you've interrupted their day and, the dog is jumping on them and the baby is crying or they're walking through a home inspection and, they're multitasking you. You want to take your time with this and realize this is a multi-step process. No matter how good your go ahead, Larry.
So on that, right? Like, so hearing your script, right? And we talk about this, right? If we can figure out the problem, now we can come with the solution, right? And then we're not trying to sell anything, right? Then we're trying to help somebody at that point in time. So any idea how many calls you make, how many appointments get set on a daily basis for you?
God, lots. I mean, I keep calling till the day ends. You know what I mean? There's days, I'm pretty good at busting in and getting a conversation started. So it all depends on like sort of how many appointments I also have that day. But there's days I'm making, anywhere from 20 to 50 calls. And a lot of that is follow up. But what I recommend to everybody, if you're getting started with this and you're hesitant, add at least one new person to your pipeline every day. Get in that habit. That's how you can start. I recommend you do more, but I know that with most people, it's baby steps. So be adding one new person every day. Think about that, guys. At the end of a year, that's 365 agents in your pipeline. You know what I mean? If you did 2 a day, you're over 700 now. You see how this starts to balloon really quickly by taking baby steps. And you're reaching out to an appointment, put the time, you can decide, do I want to block this time in my calendar and have it be specific to that? Or if you're very busy and you're going actually going all day as an agent. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how many agents I talk to who tell me, oh my God, I'm so busy. I have this one escrow that's closing in 5 weeks. And they just fixate on it for 5 weeks, and that's all they do. When agents on the team used to tell me, you know what, they'd come in, what are you doing today? What are you working on? Oh, I'm working on my escrow. And I'd be like, what the F? You're the listing agent. You know what I mean? Like, other than calling the lender to make sure that the loan is on track, you have nothing else to do. So what are you doing with the other 7 hours and 55 minutes of your day? And they look at me stumped, because they'll sit around talking about it, obsessing about it, chit-chatting with other agents who have nothing to do in the office. You know what I mean? If you're actually that busy as an agent, work this into the routine you're already doing. I'm doing a ton of showings. Okay. You're showing an agent, I mean, you're showing a client 5 houses on a Saturday. That's 5 touches with other agents. You know what I mean? Have somebody who's helping you get their info into your CRM, get them into your pipeline, and then reach out. Make sure that you're putting that aspect into practice. No,
and Kathy Ryan asked, like, hey, what does an initial call like sound like? You know, when you're calling a stranger or somebody that you're doing, you know, I know that you have your group send you a list of agents that are doing transactions with them and stuff like that. So what does your initial call generally look like and sound like?
So that's the bulk of my calls that I make. You know, I realized pretty early on that so many people just have an aversion to this for whatever reason. I'm too busy. I don't know enough. I'm afraid. Whatever reason, I don't like being salesy. Whatever their excuse is, I didn't want to miss the opportunities. So my system is set up that every time somebody in my group does a transaction, that shows up on my revenue share dashboard. So it's limited to the extent that once they cap, I don't see their subsequent transactions. But up until that point, every time they do a deal, she loads it into a special pipeline in my CRM, and it triggers an alert to me. So I automatically send them an email with the address of the closed transaction in the subject line, and it's a template, and it says, congratulations on your recent closing. Well done. You know, now let's get to work. Now let's finish the job. And the bulk of the email is, you know, you should get in the habit. This is a relationship business. So once you close a deal with another agent, you should be calling them to say, hey, congratulations. It was great working with you. Hopefully we can do some more business together. Build those relationships with other agents, guys, because you never know. We had a situation here. There were 32 offers on a property in San Diego when we were in the height of the craziness during COVID. We made one phone call to the listing agent, and she took a lesser offer than the highest offer because she said, Chris and Pete can close. They'll get this done. So because we had that relationship. So you should be in that habit anyway. While you're doing that, why not say, hey, I really enjoyed working with you. I'd like to do more work with you. Have you ever taken a look at EXP? Now, the reality is most of my agents weren't doing that. I didn't want to miss the opportunity. So I created a Google form that when they get that congratulations email from me, it says, if you can't or won't talk to that other agent about EXP, we don't want to miss the opportunity. Fill out this Google form, which gives me all their contact info. The other agents roll in the transaction, you know, and a notes section. Tell me something about them. You know what I mean? And don't just have it be good agent. You know what I mean? Give me some nuggets. You worked with this person for a month trying to get this deal closed. Give me enough notes that it turns it from a cold call from me to a warm call. And literally it would just go like this, you know, hey, Larry, this is Chris Guercio from EXP. You just closed a deal with one of my agents at 123 Main Street. Congratulations. That looked like it was a great sale. Listen, the reason I'm calling you is I was looking to set up an appointment. So-and-so had a lot of really nice things to say about you, and you seem like the type of guy that we'd like to be in business with. Larry, let me ask you something. Have you ever taken a look at eXp Realty, a real look, and seen what our business model could do for your bottom line? And then shut up. But you see how I do that, guys? It's not, you know, hey, Larry, this is Chris Guercio from eXp. How you doing today? I hang up on those people immediately all the time. You know what I mean? That is a shitty sales call. They don't want to hear it. And how are they doing? I'm busy and you're interrupting my day. That's how I'm doing. So you're taking them into an immediate sort of negative mindset towards this call. Rather, when you call them, it's sort of, no more than 30 seconds, but you're making the connection to them. Why am I calling? Hey, you closed the deal with one of my agents. Congratulations. Ooh, that feels good. Thank you. And then get right to the point of why you're calling. Don't tell anybody ever in text, email, social media, whatever it is. Hey, we should talk and see how we can collaborate together. No one wants to fucking collaborate with you. Nobody. And vice versa. Nobody cares. You know what I mean? You're a stranger to them.
Yeah.
So be genuine in why you're calling. You're a stud. I want to be in business with you. And I've got this amazing opportunity. So that's why I asked that question of, have you ever taken a look at it? Because many people will say to me, oh, I've been pitched on it a bunch of times. I'm not interested. Now, I've had to learn, as a trial lawyer, my response would be, that didn't answer my question, so I'll ask it again. You don't want to do that to somebody on this kind. This is sales, not trial work. So I just said, look, I can totally appreciate that. The first time my sponsor brought this to my attention, I blew him out of the water with it. But Larry, let me ask you, did you ever actually take a look at it? Or let me guess, you had 10 different knuckleheads call you and say, you should join EXP. It's the most amazing company. We have rev share. We have this, we have that. And they never bothered to ask you anything about you to see if it would be a good fit. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, their answer is, yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Right.
And that's why they're not interested. So when you sort of just break that down and ask questions, and again, your mindset is, I'm not trying to close them. I'm not trying to close them. I'm not trying to sell them on EXP. Because you guys should all write this down. This is a training that Sean Kokoska does all the time, and it's been transformational for me. Draw a grid. All right, you're drawing a big square on a piece of paper, divide it into 4 quadrants. Top left, positive present. Top right, positive future. Lower left, negative present. Lower right, negative future. And this is sort of a fundamental thing for you guys to all learn. There is a science to this. You know what I mean? There's a lot of art and style, but there's an underlying science to this. When somebody is in their positive present, which is, I'm good where I'm at, I like my brokerage, whatever that is, you're going to have an extremely difficult time getting them from positive present to positive future, which is EXP. So when you say, I have this amazing opportunity, they don't care. They're comfortable, they're happy, and they're not going to risk that for the potential of something better being told to them by a perfect stranger. You know what I mean? So people don't necessarily run towards better opportunities. Most people are risk adverse. However, 100% of people run away from pain. Basic human nature. So when they're comfortable in that nest, your job is to very politely, very strategically set the nest on fire so that they have to leave. And you do that by taking them from positive present to negative present. And how do you do that? By asking questions. That's the discovery call. So going back to the prospecting call, if they keep saying, I'm not interested, et cetera, and be like, look, man, I get it. But this is not what I'm looking to do with you is find out, because you told me you've never really looked at it. You owe it to your wife, you owe it to your kids to at least know what you're saying no to. And what we're going to do on that call is I'm going to learn more about you, your business, and your goals, because we're going to find out one of 3 things, or all of 3 things. Is EXP the right fit for you? Are you the right fit for EXP? And are you the right fit for my organization? Because I work very closely with my people and I want to make sure you're going to be a good fit. Now, all of a sudden, I'm posturing them up and turning it from, please, sir, can I have some more? Where I'm like begging them to join EXP to now I'm interviewing you to see if you're worthy. I want to make them try and prove themselves to me. And when we, if they're still saying no, you got a couple of things you can do. the universal objection handler, which I absolutely love. I learned this from John Mendelsohn. Hey, Larry, let me ask you something. Look, I get where you're at, and I'm happy that you're happy, man. That's awesome. But let me ask something. If I could guarantee you, I'm going to show you how to make an extra 30 to 50 grand every year without you doing anything differently than you're doing right now. You're going to tell me that's not worth 20 minutes of your time?
No, Chris, that's
tough.
probably worth 20 minutes of my time, right? Like,
So boom, you're setting
But
your
it's you notice he's asking the right questions again, right? And he's asking questions that he knows the answer to. And this is kind of the science of it. And now compare this, right? I'm looking at Art, I'm looking at Jared, I'm looking at Deneen, Angela Filkins and stuff there, right? Like, how many of you guys were interviewed, right? Like, how many of you guys were interviewed to see if we were a good fit, to see if I even wanted you in my referral network to open up these other opportunities, right? Like, this is where we don't need to do business with everybody. Like, I only want to do business with the people that we align with, right? Like, if I don't want you to attend Tony Robbins with us because you're a jerk, like, I'm probably not asking you to join our group. If you aren't going to be down in Cabo or Palm Desert or something like that at one of these events, and I'm trying to hide from you, like, it's not worth it, guys, right? So this is why we do talk. Like, it's an interview both sides at this point. And then if you have something that they want, or you have the solution to their problem, now it becomes more enticing at the end of the day. So, Chris, real quick. So, speaking about, masterminds and Cabo and stuff like that, would you tell the story because it was so savage about, the check that you wrote on the piece of paper? Like, give people some background and just run them through that story, just because I want to hear it again.
This is you guys could start to have a lot of fun with this the more that you do it. And I don't take myself too seriously, as many of you could probably tell. So we were down in Cabo, and one of the other guys in our influencer group had brought a guest there, and the guest was a pretty big deal. A super nice guy, but he was a big producer, and he was strongly considering EXP. So I got introduced to him at the pool one afternoon when I was probably 6 or 7 Miami Vices deep. I had just discovered that drink, and it's phenomenal. So I'm just rapping with the guy, and I'm just being me. It's definitely, I'm more me when I've got some alcohol in me. But we just broed out for like an hour talking at the pool, and I'm asking him a ton of questions and stuff. And EXP was going to be the perfect fit for him. The next morning, no matter what, I'm up at 5:30 every day. Like, I don't sleep. So Kelly, my better half, is out cold still. And I was like, all right, I don't want to disturb her. I'm going to go out to the lobby and do some work. There's a coffee shop there. I get my coffee. The lobby's beautiful. And I'm looking out, over the ocean. And it's about 7 a.m. And those 2 guys come walking by. And I'm like, hey, you guys are up early. And they said, oh, well, we're going we have a meeting scheduled with Brent Gove to talk to him, about EXP. He was bringing in the closer. And I just looked at him and said, what the fuck else do you need to hear? And he's just like, oh, blah, 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 like, I'm a loyal guy, I really like my broker, and he's been there for me. So I just said, look, we're going to solve this right now. And I reached into my backpack and took out my notebook, got a blank sheet of paper, and I drew a check. And I wrote in that check $50,000. And I left the 2-line blank. And I handed it to him. I ripped it out, handed it to him, and said, you have to put one name on that check right now. Your wife or your broker? Whose name is going on the check? And he sort of chuckled, and he's like, yeah, I know, and I was like, say it out loud. Don't laugh. I'm not going to assume. Whose name are you putting on the check? And he says, well, obviously my wife. And I snatched the check back from him and said, you're lying to yourself and to me, because you've been putting your broker's name on that check every single year. And he literally just, oh. And when they were walking up to Brent's room, he told his now sponsor, Jesus, that kid's a savage. He's like, I don't think we really need to have this meeting anymore. And he joined. Simple as that. You know what I mean? So take it out of the abstract of, just, oh, this is better and that's better. Make it real, make it tangible, tie it to something in their life so that they have an emotional connection to it, because emotions are what make people take action. So all of a sudden, that guy just didn't realize where to him, he's like, obviously I'd put my wife's name in. Well, obviously you've been fooling yourself all these years because every year you're giving away way too much money and way too many opportunities out of a misplaced loyalty to your broker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anybody who tells you that, guys, it's nonsense. It's a total excuse to justify and not face the fact of, I'm afraid. Nobody wants to admit that to themselves. But loyalty is a matter of perspective. You know what I mean? I ask them all the time, who are you more loyal to? Your kids or your manager, who, by the way, doesn't give a shit about you? You know what I mean? When you leave, they forget you exist the moment you're out the door. They forget you
Yeah.
exist. So start to have fun with it. You know what I mean? Like, but the whole goal is not to be sort of ramming EXP down their throat and saying, it's better, it's better, it's better. Whenever you're
Yeah.
doing this kind of stuff, when you're trying to make somebody do what you want them to do, the best way to do that is have them think it's their idea.
And guys, you really do have to have fun with it, right? Like I grew up as a Mike Ferry agent, calling 50 contacts a day, right? And at some point, like you start to get beat up, right? And you were calling expired listings, right? Which are people that hate you already.
Sucks.
And so like they'd be like, why the F are you calling me? Why didn't you sell my home when it was? And then they would hang up. Right. And I'd pick up the phone. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. We must have got disconnected. Unless you were telling me how wonderful I was. Right. Like I'm just trying to break the tension. I'm trying to see what works. But again, this is the science of testing what works and how do you mirror and match. And Chris and I were talking about this yesterday. Right. He has to mold to and adapt, as do I, to different personalities and different people and stuff like that. You guys have to do the same thing to your clients that you're buying and selling homes with, agents that you're talking with. This is how we grow. This is why I want you guys to go to Tony Robbins, right? So you can start to learn skills like this that you can now translate to make you more valuable in the real estate space in whichever aspect you guys want to focus on. But you have to either learn these skills by other people teaching you or the school of hard knocks. Those are your two options, right? Like it just doesn't come in. You have to learn it in some way, shape, or form. And we want to help you expedite that, which is why we have these calls and guests like Chris and stuff on here so that you hear it in a different way. Because Chris is going to resonate with some of you guys more than me and vice versa, right? So this is where you got to find your style and something that you're willing to do every single day, over and over again.
Larry, there's one thing that I want to point out with that's an important distinction for everybody to make. Style and substance, guys, are two different things. So not everybody is going to have the potty mouth that I do, or talk as fast as I do, or be as obnoxious as I am. You know what I mean? You want to be genuine and be you, but the underlying substance and the messaging should be the same. For example, Tracy Lewis, for those of you who know now, Tracy Gagnon. She's one of my favorite people in the world. And she's the sweetest, nicest woman you're ever going to meet. Got this great little Southern drawl. And she was doing a teaching lesson that I was participating in. And there was a girl there and Tracy's teaching them how to do it, how to do recruiting. And the girl says, you know, I get what you're saying, but that just doesn't sound like me. That's not who I am. It doesn't sound like me. And Tracy, I call her the velvet sledgehammer, very nicely, very politely. She puts her hand on the girl's shoulder and says, sweetie, it's not supposed to sound like you. It's supposed to sound like somebody who makes $2 million a year in revenue share. Boom. Boom. It was it was the sweetest, most savage thing I've ever heard. So that's what Larry said is so critical, is you can't wing this. Not only will you not have success, but quite frankly, it hurts the company as a whole, having thousands of people running around doing this improperly, because now it creates that kind of ick factor of, oh, I don't want to be pitched on EXP again. by people who've never actually looked at it and voluntarily at a brokerage with no cap paying a 7 or an 8% franchise fee. That's insane. So you want to make sure that you're approaching this right and not being attached to the outcome. You make it clear to them, I'm not trying to recruit you yet. What I'd like you to do is I want to get to know you. Worst case scenario, I'm going to help you plug some holes in your business. And then you guys want to know a really savage pro tip on both your prospecting and your discovery calls?
Yes,
This is how you start doing shit at next level, guys. Every single person you talk to, and I say this on the prospecting call too, worst case scenario, I'm going to show you how to get a raise at your current brokerage.
Yes.
Like, ooh, how are you going to do that? The whole key for engagement, guys, I learned this last week from that really boring guy from Happy Grasshopper, but this was brilliant. And he goes, what is it? The universal formula for engagement is ignite curiosity and leave it unresolved. So I tell them that on the prospecting call. I call it my money back guarantee, essentially. Worst case scenario, even if you decide you want to stay at your brokerage for whatever reason, that's okay. I'm going to get you a raise. And how you do that is, how many of these knuckleheads, they're like, I'm loyal to my brokerage, I would never leave. And they do that to sort of kiss ass to their manager, thinking it's going to get them brownie points and whatnot. It doesn't. It makes them get neglected because the manager and the broker's time gets spent on the squeaky wheels. So what I do with every single one of these people is, look, even if you're not interested, learn how to play poker. Go back to your manager. Every manager in La Jolla of every other brokerage hates my guts. And that's intentional, because every time if they're not going to come, I send them back to their manager with their hand out saying, Chris is making a lot of sense. EXP offers a lot. You know, what are you guys going to do to get me to stay? Think about how well this works. My old manager from Coldwell Banker hated us when we left. We were their top team. And I spoke to everybody there, including good friends of mine that I had put at Coldwell Banker. I'm the one who recruited them in. And they were, you know, all of them were like, I'm happy here. I'm under contract, you know, the blah, 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 blah. And I had every one of them go back with their hands out. And I cost him just shy of $250,000. What happens then? Now there's additional pressure on the brokerage. Corporate is now pissed that profitability is down. They took it out on him and cut his salary by $100,000. He got so pissed off. Guess where he is now? EXP. So you can do this on every one of these offices, and we're attacking them from both sides, guys. You're either taking people out and they're finding a better path with EXP, or you're putting so much additional pressure on these brokerages because that's their natural inclination, is throw money at the problem. They don't understand. And that's why when the people say, oh, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Your job with your discovery call and this process of recruiting is to show them that it is broken. That model is broken, where for years and years and years, how many agents do you guys talk to who sell 1 or 2 houses a year, yet they're on a 90-10 split? That used to be like your highest achievement. It went to the absolute top producers. Now, all you got to do is ask, and they'll put you at 90 because they need the body counts. They're so terrified that their agent count is dropping that they'll do anything to keep it up. So they just keep throwing more and more and more money at the problem. And then inevitably what happens? We've got to raise monthly fees. I put so much strain on the Coldwell Banker here in La Jolla, they couldn't afford the rent on their office anymore. So they switched to an office that's 100 yards setback off the sidewalk. What did that kill? Floor time. I've got meetings lined up for the next 2 weeks straight with Coldwell Banker offices, with Coldwell Banker agents.
That is beautiful.
Just see how all the pieces fit.
Like we totally went off script, right? Like I had this agenda, but like the flow of this, I mean, I'm hoping that you guys are getting something out of this, right? In a different feel. Like I felt like it was important just to let that flow go on because of all of the nuggets that Chris was going on. And I'm looking down. I mean, damn, we're already at almost an hour here. And so I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but And so, we were going to go through like the top 3 things, but if you guys couldn't pick things out of Chris's, mastermind here with us, like I'm going to send this out, like re-listen to this, pick 1 or 2 things, right? Like you don't need to change what you're doing. Add 1 or 2 things that will make your system better, that will make you be able to leverage, will make you add more value to other people, that will continue to help you grow. While we have Chris, though, like questions, comments, concerns, who has something? You can put your hand up. Frank, I see that your mic's off. What do you got?
Larry, I have a question. Chris, tell them your average price, because I know exactly where that Caldwell Banker office is. Tell them the average price of the agent you're talking to.
The average price in terms of home sales, or?
Yes, average price for home
in,
sales.
in La Jolla now, you're not buying dirt for under 2 million. You know what I mean? If you find a house for under 2 million in La Jolla, you could probably knock it down with your shoulder.
And every agent in La Jolla has an ego, right?
It's a ridiculous snake pit. Most of them can't tie their own shoes, yet they all walk around like, I'm a La Jolla agent. Why? Because it says so on my business card. But they'll take anybody with a heartbeat and a real estate license.
And they'll drive all the way into Temecula to sell them a house because they're not selling enough in La Jolla, right? Like
Constantly. They all call themselves, I'm a La Jolla agent. I cheat. Kelly's a title rep. I have access to MTA reports. So I look up their production. You know what I mean? I had a kid the other day who was bragging to me, I'm really stable at Compass and, we're the #1 brokerage and blah, blah, blah. I was like, dude, in the last 18 months, you've done 500,000 in sales volume. That's a parking space here. How stable are you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
Like you're under the poverty line. So just call them out on their bullshit by asking questions and making them take a real look. All of these agents are very heavily indoctrinated by their brokerages. And the way that you get them out of that is not by putting them on the defense, not by saying EXP is better. You know what I mean? It's incredible. And the indoctrination comes all the way down from the highest levels. Robert Revkin hates my guts too, because every time I comment on his posts, every time that Compass posts, we're the #1 brokerage in America by sales volume. And I said, does anybody else find it strange that Robert Revkin is doing the equivalent about bragging about getting laid by a hooker? Because what did he do? He took SoftBank's money and bought all these agents. The La Jolla Compass office isn't going to be profitable for a decade because of how much money he spent on the agents. So call people out by asking questions and making them come to the realization. Oh no, being at Sotheby's really helps me on listing appointments. Well, that's interesting because I just looked at your transaction history for the last 2 years and you haven't taken a single listing. So you tell me, how does it help? And then shut up. You know what I mean? You saw what Larry did at the beginning when he asked you guys, like, give me a win. And he's like, I can wait as long as you can. The uncomfortable silence is your best weapon. You know what I mean? And you all saw Wolf of Wall Street. Whoever talks first loses. Let it get uncomfortable. Make them say these things out loud, because that's how you'll start to wake them up from their indoctrination slumber. No, I must be at Sotheby's. Sotheby's, we're international, we're luxury. I'm like, you idiots are paying an 8% franchise fee. And I just
and
say
on,
to them,
and on those transactions, that's astronomical.
Huge. I'm talking to a lady at Sotheby's here in San Diego. She paid Sotheby's $135,000 in 1 month. That's not how much she made. That's how much she paid to her brokerage. And I'm like, do me a favor. I'm curious. Justify it. Well, I really like my office, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're going to pay them $600,000 this year. Buy the freaking building. Become the landlord. And now all of a sudden, then they start to wake up. Most people haven't really taken a look at this. So that's all you're looking to do, guys, is get them to a discovery call. And then the questions that you're asking them, a lot of you are probably sitting there. I know that Larry wanted to do like the top 3 things, you know what I mean, for you guys to do. Number 1 is learn your company. It's not okay for any of you to be here for several years and be like, how does revenue share work? What are the stock awards again? It's not okay. You've got to learn all that stuff. Take the time, not because you're going to be puking it all over other people, but because you use all those features and benefits to create your list of questions. You know what I mean? Tell me what your commission split is. What's the highest commission split that you can get at your brokerage? And when they say, oh, 90%, well, how do you get to 100%? Ask the additional question just to keep tapping them. Well, you can't get to 100%. And then I take my notes. And you're always doing your discovery call and a video call, guys. Always. You know what I mean? You don't, if somebody's like, oh, well, I'm doing my home inspection right now, blah, blah, blah. So I figured we could do this. Let's reschedule. I want you to be sitting at your computer. I want you to be focused and not multitask because this is important. You know what I mean? So you tell me when you have the time. And then you're just going through all of your questions, which are the mirror image reflection of all the features and benefits of EXP. What do you pay? We don't have a franchise fee. So how do you say that without just saying it? What are you paying me in your franchise fee over there? 7% off the top on every deal? Okay. So now all I'm doing is taking them from I'm good where I'm at, positive present, down to negative present. And then what I do is for my presentation, my recommendation is stop sending out videos. Stop sending out the model explained. Nobody wants to watch it. They've all heard it, and it's become like that cliche trigger about EXP. Oh, you're going to ask me to watch a video? I literally send them a side-by-side comparison. And I have fun with it, especially, if I'm talking to a guy like Larry, where we're going to bro out on a call. When I'm sending them the side-by-side comparison, no cap on your commissions, $16,000 cap, 7% franchise fee, no franchise fee, $2,400 a year in E&O, $60 a transaction, caps at $750. No health insurance. And I go down and I send them that side-by-side comparison. And I'll laugh with somebody like Larry. I'll be like, I'm going to give you 48 hours. Then I'm going to send this to your wife and make you join. You know what I mean? Just to sort of slow them down and make them laugh and see the absurdity. And now it's staring at them in the face. And the other thing you do with that too is take the label off, because they'll look at it and be like, yes, but I'm at Sotheby's and we're an international presence and we're luxury and blah, blah, blah. When was the last time you talked to somebody in the Mumbai office at Sotheby's? Give me a break. It doesn't happen. That's how the company sells you on paying an 8% franchise fee. But it's all bullshit. So take the labels off. And when you write all that stuff out and you do that side-by-side comparison, I'll literally say to them, let me pick a name here. Jared, right next to me on the screen. Hey, Jared, let me ask you something. If your daughter came to you and said, I'm getting into real estate, Dad, I'm really excited about this. I want to choose the right brokerage. And these are the two I've narrowed it down to. And you have company A and company B. Company A, no cap on your commissions, 8% franchise fee, $2,400 a year in E&O, training 1 hour a week by somebody who hasn't sold a house in 15 years. No health insurance, no revenue share, no stock, blah, 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 blah. And then company B, and you go down. You're taking all the labels off. Who are you going to tell her to join? Company A or company B?
Company B.
Right. Then tell me something, Jared. Why the hell are you at company A?
It's a good question.
Boom. But you have to, you're never going to sell somebody.
It took me about a year to explain that one to Jared.
You're not lying.
Right.
Yeah,
But
it took me about a year.
It's got to be their idea. And you just keep digging and asking questions. You want to get down to, oh, I'm really loyal to my broker. Nobody's that loyal. I mean, loyalty is a matter of perspective. You have an obligation to be loyal to your family. Everyone else is cannon fodder. All right. This is business. You know what I mean? And the people who tell you that, guys, it's an excuse. You know what I mean? So, and here's how you prove it to them real quick. All right, man, look, I'm an Italian kid from New York. I have the same knucklehead friend since I'm 5 years old, right? I get loyalty. But let me ask you this question. If I offered you $1 million, if I got EXP to authorize $1 million for you to come here, would you not come out of loyalty to your brokerage? You give me $1 million, I'm definitely coming. All right, excellent. So now it's just a question of how much can I buy your loyalty for? You know what I mean? And you do it funny. You know what I mean? You smile, you make them laugh. And that's when I tell them, that's what I'm offering you here is $1 million opportunity. I'm not just going to hand you $1 million. All due respect, you're not worth it yet. But what I'm giving you is the highest ceiling and the most opportunity. You do not have the ability to make that kind of money at your current brokerage, but I am offering you the opportunity to do it here. And all you've got to do is follow the path that I'm going to lay out for you. Are you coachable? That's the number one skill set that an agent can have is coachability, because we don't have to invent anything. I'm not creative at all. I sit down, I find the guys like, you know, I heard Larry speak one day and I was like, literally wrote his name on a sticky. I'm like, that's a guy I got to get to know. In the beginning, it was Jay Kinder, it was Michael Reese, Albie, Brent. And I was brazen. I went up to them at events and I was like, dude, I want to buy an hour of your time. What's your hourly rate? You know what I mean? And I want to sit down, and I had my list of questions and things that I wanted to learn and wanted to know. I sought out the people who were doing this successfully and did exactly what they told me to do. I didn't try and get creative. Don't. There's a clear path on how to do this, guys. And all you got to do is have the confidence in what you're selling. You know, show of hands. Does everybody here agree that EXP is the best business model for agents on the planet? Right? So then why wouldn't you try to share it?
Yeah. Guys, any questions, comments, concerns for Chris? Joseph Limo, I saw you on mute. You got something, brother?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Chris. These are my favorite calls. I love hearing from people who are actually in it and doing it. It's abundantly clear, man. You don't come up with scripts like that unless it's just, you know, at the tip of your tongue because you're doing it every day.
Yeah.
Definitely the motivation I needed to hear with some really great verbiage, man. So I just want to say thank you.
Cool. My pleasure, Joe.
Yeah. Anybody else out there? Well, we got Chris. Chris, will you be out there at EXPCon?
Yeah, I think so. Got some family stuff going on with parents and health issues and everything. So it's long range planning is a little difficult right now, but yes, we are intending to be there.
Beautiful. Well, if you are, man, I would love to grab a coffee, lunch, something like that. Man, can't thank you enough for showing up, for being on here, sharing just kind of the nuggets and everything that made you successful, man. Keep it up. And guys, take 1 or 2 things from this and implement it into your structure, right? Implement it into your calendar, add some value, go out there and push your comfort zone a little bit, because that's where the growth comes in. Not where we're doing the same shit over and over that we're used to, right? It's when we start to get uncomfortable that we really start to grow. And view that in the most positive light possible, that you're becoming better. It's going to help you in real estate, communication with your spouse, with your kids, and this and that, because it really all does come together at the end of the day. So, Chris, man, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much.
My
guys,
pleasure,
I will
bro.
record this. I will get this posted in our workplace, along with YouTube and stuff like that as well. Thank you guys so much. I love you guys. I thank you guys. Crush it this week. And if you guys need anything, call, text, or email me. Chris, thank you again, brother. And if you need anything from me, if I can ever return the favor, please let me know, sir.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Have a good
Later,
weekend.
guys.
Bye-bye.